Hello and welcome. While there are countless books and videos on the law of attraction, most people are not familiar with the theoretical framework that underlies it, and many are struggling to make it work in their favor. This is not to say that David R. Hawkins' views are the only ones available, but he is among the authors who have made the most serious attempts at describing the mechanics behind this seemingly mysterious law. He integrates his understanding of spiritual truths with a scientific approach to energy fields, grounding his views in extensive research. At the same time that, while Hawkins' perspective has much power behind it, it is still one perspective out of many on the law of attraction, and the stance taken on this channel is that there most definitely is some way that reality operates that can be termed the law of attraction, but that we don't know exactly how it works. So the best we can do is to come up with qualified theories and see how well they hold up against our experiences. It stands to reason that if one knows the mechanics behind what one is doing, it's easier to make it work in one's favor. Now, don't take these questions too lightly, as they may determine both what results you get and how you as a person is affected by engaging with the law. In this context, it is also crucial to ask yourself the following two questions. What do you believe the law of attraction is for? And what do you truly want to use it for? Another, perhaps more crucial reason that these questions are important is that we are standing before the biggest shift in the history of the planet. And while there is nothing wrong with wanting to attract a good life, in light of what is happening in the world, this may be a very limited use of the law. For those who don't know, the law of attraction asserts that your inner state influences the reality you experience. This is crucial. For the law of attraction to work, one needs to move from putting one's focus on one's actions out into the physical reality, and instead aiming it at one's inner state. When you shift your inside, a different quality of action will also follow as a result. The law operates on the principle that like attracts like. High vibrational states such as love, gratitude, and joy magnetize positive outcomes, while lower vibrations like fear or resentment draw negative experiences. The same goes for thoughts, where positive thoughts attract positive outcomes, while negative ones attract negative outcomes. Central to this concept is the alignment of your inner energy with desired outcomes, achieved by focusing one's intention, consciously cultivating positive emotions, and letting go of resistance. This universal principle reflects the interplay between consciousness and energy, where your inner state acts as a blueprint shaping the external circumstances of your life. This was just a very brief overview that leaves a lot of questions unanswered, but hopefully things will be clearer by the end of the video. At the core of Hawkins' philosophy is the assertion that all phenomena in existence radiate an energy field, measurable and indicative of their vibrational essence. The term vibrational essence refers to the intrinsic energetic quality or frequency that underlies and defines all phenomena in existence. This idea is rooted in the understanding that everything, whether physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, operates as a form of energy, radiating vibrations that can be detected, measured, and experienced. The vibrational essence of something reflects its fundamental state of being, which determines how it interacts with and influences its environment. Higher vibrational essences, associated with qualities like love, peace, and truth, resonate at a higher frequency and are life-enhancing. In contrast, lower vibrational essences, tied to fear, anger, or shame, resonate at slower frequencies and are life-depleting. This essence shapes the energetic attractor fields that Hawkins describes, influencing what each phenomenon draws toward or repels from itself. Thus, vibrational essence is a way to understand the core energy signature of an entity or experience, defining its place and role in the broader spectrum of consciousness and energy. This energetic quality not only determines how we interact with the world, but also aligns with the law of attraction's premise that like attracts like. Hawkins introduces the concept of attractor patterns, which are energetic alignments influenced by one's level of consciousness. These patterns create the foundation upon which our experiences unfold. As you now can understand, positive and high vibration states such as love, acceptance, and peace naturally align with positive outcomes, while lower vibrations like anger or shame resonate with struggle and negativity. Let's now look at this in relation to the map of consciousness, a key tool in Hawkins's work. This map quantifies consciousness levels on a scale from 1 to 1000. This scale delineates a spectrum where low levels, such as shame and fear, which calibrate at the lower end of the scale, correlate with life-depleting attractor fields, while higher levels, such as love and enlightenment, represent life-enhancing energies and calibrate at the higher end. The pivotal shift from negative to positive attractor fields occurs at the level of courage at 200. Courage is not merely the absence of fear, but an active state of empowerment and authenticity that facilitates positive change. Courage is still connected with forcing, though, and it's at the level of neutrality, right above courage, calibrating at 250, where things really start to happen. Neutrality marks the point where reactive patterns give way to deliberate, conscious choices. This level reflects an unshakable inner calm and a freedom from emotional volatility. At neutrality, life is no longer viewed through the lens of resistance or struggle, but is accepted as it is, creating a space for objective decisions and balanced interactions. By transcending reactivity, you gain the ability to respond rather than react, making neutrality a foundation for creativity, problem-solving, and deeper growth. This state fosters a release of judgment and attachment, as well as the need to control and defend, allowing choices to emerge from a space of equanimity rather than defensiveness or desire. It embodies trust and the ability to approach life situations without the compulsion to control outcomes. Hawkins notes that at this level, one's perspective becomes enabling and satisfactory, making it possible to relate to others and oneself with balanced authenticity. This energy level is characterized by an effortless movement through life, where challenges are met with adaptability and openness, fostering alignment with higher consciousness. Hawkins emphasizes the importance of surrender and letting go as mechanisms to elevate one's vibrational state. Letting go involves releasing emotional blockages and attachments to thoughts, emotions, and outcomes. He describes this process as the dissolution of the small self or ego, revealing the true inner self, which naturally aligns with the higher vibrational frequencies of love, peace, and joy. We have videos both on letting go of energetic blockages and surrender, and there will be links at the end screen. Energy, as understood by Hawkins, is more than a metaphysical concept. It is experiential and measurable. For example, his use of muscle testing, a kinesiology technique, illustrates how energy levels impact the body's strength or weakness when exposed to stimuli. This method underscores how alignment with truth and positive energies strengthens both the body and mind, while alignment with falsehood or negativity weakens them. In this context, it's worth mentioning that we may as of yet only be scratching the surface of the science of energy and vibrations, and what implications it has for how we view ourselves, reality, and our experiences within it. Thus, there may be other forces at play that we don't know about yet, that can explain why the law of attraction doesn't seem to work in our favor, even if we're seemingly doing everything right. Some teachers, for example, in total contradiction to what others teach, posit a law of repulsion, where we actually repel that which we have clearly stated that we do not want. Others, on the other hand, say that we attract just that which we don't want. However, there is a third alternative, namely that there are experiences that are basically impossible to welcome into our lives, such as the death of a loved one or even a really messy financial situation, but that there are also neutral ones, such as our work situation, which we can choose how we view, even if it's not what we would prefer the most. Be that as it may, this serves as a good example of how there is no absolute consensus around how the law of attraction works. The latter approach is also just a suggestion, but what this means is that you cannot automatically assume that you've done something quote-unquote wrong when there are unwanted circumstances in your life, and whatever the case may be, it's never a cause for blaming yourself. Remember that you can only change that which you are aware of, and you are always doing your best from where you're at. Furthermore, there is also one known force at play, which we will discuss later, that can override any other law of the universe. Now, Hawkins' interpretation of the law of attraction transcends simplistic notions of wish fulfillment. Instead, he integrates this law into a broader framework of spiritual evolution, where increasing awareness and surrender to higher consciousness catalyze both internal peace and external harmony. The process begins with acknowledging and releasing negative feelings, which Hawkins argues are survival programs deeply embedded in the psyche. By surrendering these emotions, one diminishes their influence, allowing the higher frequencies of the true self to emerge. This inner alignment, he posits, magnetizes external conditions that resonate with these higher states. It's important to emphasize that this is not about making negative emotions bad. Sometimes they can have something important to tell us. The problems arise when we suppress them so that they get stored inside our bodies and energetic fields. There, they serve no useful purpose whatsoever. Instead, they are harmful to one's well-being, create negative behavior, and contribute to creating more negative situations in one's life, whether directly through how they cause us to speak and act or through the attractive energy they emit. In Power versus Force, Hawkins differentiates between power, a constructive and life-affirming energy, and force, which is depleting and oppositional. True power emerges from alignment with higher consciousness, which in turn influences outcomes without the need for coercion. This understanding refines the law of attraction by highlighting that the quality of consciousness, rather than mere intent, dictates the outcomes we attract. We also have a whole video about how to rise on the scale of consciousness, and there will be a link to it at the end screen. Ultimately, Hawkins situates the law of attraction within the context of collective and individual transformation. He notes that personal healing reverberates outward, contributing to the collective consciousness. By elevating personal energy fields, individuals can influence larger systems, embodying the principle that inner transformation fosters external harmony. This means that when you learn to make the law of attraction work in your favor and use this in alignment with your higher nature, you will have a tremendously positive effect on those around you and the world at large. In summary, David R. Hawkins' approach to the law of attraction emphasizes the interplay between consciousness, energy, and vibration. Central to his perspective is the idea that our vibrational state, as mapped on his scale of consciousness, determines the kinds of experiences we attract. Higher levels, such as love and peace, align with positive outcomes, while lower levels, such as fear and shame, resonate with struggle and negativity. Hawkins introduces the concept of attractor fields, explaining that these energy patterns shape our reality based on our level of consciousness. The practice of letting go, releasing attachments to emotions and outcomes, enables a shift to higher vibrational states, fostering alignment with life-enhancing energies. Courage marks a turning point on the scale, transitioning from negative to positive fields and empowering authentic living. Hawkins distinguishes power, which emerges naturally from higher states of consciousness, from force, which is depleting and resistant. This distinction refines the law of attraction to focus on the internal quality of consciousness rather than superficial intent. Hawkins frames the law of attraction within a broader spiritual context, where individual growth contributes to collective transformation. By surrendering lower energies and aligning with higher frequencies, one not only enhances personal well-being, but also impacts the larger energetic field of humanity. This integration of inner and outer alignment provides a practical and profound path to harmony with universal laws. As many know, it's not always easy to conjure up emotions at command. Therefore, for this law to work effectively, it has to be coupled with inner work. It is crucial to get out of stress over material circumstances. If there is one thing that there is no getting around, it's this one. You will not be able to do this effectively as long as you're operating from survival mode. Realize that, while things may seem very threatening on the outside, from an eternity perspective, none of it is that important. And make no mistake, you are going to live forever, in one way or another. It doesn't mean that you should waste this life, but it does mean that, in the grander scheme of things, you are going to be okay no matter what happens. If you can cultivate this perspective, it will take a huge burden off of your shoulders, allowing you to make more conscious, less reactive decisions. You can furthermore learn to consciously direct your thoughts and choose to remember positive emotions which you have a good sense of how you feel. This takes some practice, but there are usually some emotions that are more easily remembered than others. Examples can be enthusiasm, gratitude, or even relief. Knowing this, you can see why it's important that you learn to observe yourself. Observe what thoughts are going around in your head and how you habitually respond to challenging circumstances. This is an effective way of learning what your inner state really is. We are usually not as aware as we think of our thoughts, emotions, words, and actions, and it's not uncommon that a rather different person from who we thought we were emerges when we shine light on these things. If this is the case, it's great, because this is where real change begins, and if what you find is a complete stranger, you're not in a worse predicament than most people are in, and now you know it. We have a whole video on self-observation, and there will be a link at the end screen in just a moment. Furthermore, the mere act of bringing more consciousness into what is going on within, and deciding that you want to see it as clearly as possible, begins to change it. It could also be beneficial with a reminder that, while there is nothing wrong with using the law of attraction to attract abundance and other desirable circumstances, this is a very limited use. We are here to be part of the most important event in the history of the planet, and you are missing out on it if you don't seek something bigger than a good life for yourself. Finally, it's also good to remember that, while you are learning that reality is governed by other principles than mere cause and effect, you are also interacting with a living, intelligent being, whether you want to call this being God, infinite consciousness, the universe, or something else. People have different ideas about what this being is and which role this being is playing in their lives. All of them cannot be true, and there is no objective way of determining these things. However, one thing that we can be sure of is that God does play a role in our lives, and that when God gets involved in our affairs, it overrides all other laws in the universe. From the perspective of God, things may have a very different meaning than they have from our limited perspective, and this might be good to keep in mind when we're seemingly doing all the quote-unquote right things, and the law of attraction still doesn't seem to be working in our favor. There may be a good reason why you don't get what you think you want, and often it has to do with a real inner need that is much more real and important than any external circumstances. You've now reached the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for your time.